My name is Hannah, and this is my beauty budget. Hey y'all, it is finally time. The day has come. I'm going to declutter my single shadows. And I think what I'm going to do is just to go through shadow by shadow, like one by one, and basically use the Sparks Joy criteria, the Marie Kondo method. I don't really want to keep any single eyeshadows simply because I don't have something like that in my collection. I don't particularly want to declutter two that I really like or declutter one of two that I really like just because they're close to each other. I really want to just keep a group of individual single shadows, each one of which I individually love on its own merits, and to not stress out too much about curation, perfection, the shape of the collection, the number of the collection. I just want to keep what I'm going to really love using and give away what I'm not really going to love using. And I think that my motivation here, because I don't have, so half of this is just like empty palettes, and you'll see that as I go because I think I'm going to maybe even be decluttering some empty palettes today. But all told, I don't feel overwhelmed by the number of my single shadows. I don't feel like I have way too many or more than I ever wanted. I just kind of want to have a collection of single shadows that I can keep in my Makeup Mind palace and that I feel like I know. And I do have too many for that. And there are many that, even though they're great, shouldn't be in a collection of mine if that's my criteria, because I just don't kind of think of them fondly enough or remember them enough. So I hope that that's clear. I hope that we're on the same page now going forward with this little declutter. And let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. So this right here, these are all of my currently empty magnetic palettes. I have this little one from Z Palette. Also, I didn't clean anything. Oh, and also I did want to mention that there have been a handful of single shadows that have kind of like come into my collection as gifts or as random depotted things and then also passed out of my collection. Either they weren't holding together well or I ended up giving them away to friends, kind of setting some friends up with a couple single shadows. So there actually are a couple of single shadows that you guys have never seen on my channel, which is totally fine, but I just wanted to mention it in the interest of full disclosure because I know that some of you guys have been following my single shadow career very closely. Anyway, this is a little Z palette that I use. This is my little empty ColourPop magnetic palette. This is an empty Tarte palette that I often travel with. I find this very useful because it has a huge clear mirror, and I also like the symmetry of the fact that it's square. This is kind of a regular mid-sized Z palette, and this is like a regular mid-sized Adept palette that also has a really beautiful mirror. So depending on what we end up with at the end, I may keep some of these. I might use them as vehicles by which to go away some of my single shadows. For now, I'm just going to put these to the side. And let's actually, you know what, I don't want to like try to be too insane or too organized about this. I just want to go through shadow by shadow. And right now, oh, there's something I forgot. This was in my bag because I took it to the photo shoot this morning because I used some of these shadows to make my photo shoot look today. So if you watched my most recent video, the one about if I could only keep 10 single shadows, you'll have seen this little palette recently. So I put 9 of the 10. The 10th was this one from Rowan, which you know, I can't put into a magnetic palette, but I put 9 of the 10 that I ended up selecting in here. And then I put a bunch of the runners up in here. So these are some of my top of the top all-time favorite shadows. And so I'm not going to be parting with any of them today, but what I am going to do is to leave them like right here, just so that I have a reference point for how fond my feelings can be of shadows of this kind. So I'm going to leave them kind of like hanging out there in the corner. And then here are the rest of my shadows from Cleona. I'm not going to get rid of any of these. I love each and every one of them, and I don't think it would make me happy to have like a more closely curated set of Cleona stained glass shadows. If anything, I'm kind of considering buying 2 more so that I can have this little square pan completely filled. There aren't the 4 that are missing. They're in here, as you can see. It's those 4 right there. Anyway, that one's easy. I'm keeping all of those. Should I go through these right now? You know what? I think I'm not going to go through my little potted ones right now because, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go through the K Beauty shadows, because I think I'm going to do like a separate K Beauty product reckoning with all of the things that came to me from EYESHADOW. So I don't want to declutter these now because I haven't reckoned with them yet, basically. This is ColourPop Bouncy. This is ColourPop Almost There. These are both Super Shock shadows. And this is the Natasha Denona Crystal Top Coat in Gray Brown. Should we zoom in a little bit? I feel like when I filmed that other video, when I zoomed in, I kind of lost some of the color intensity. So I'm going to zoom in, not just a little bit, but not super far. I just want you guys to be able to see the colors a little bit more closely. Let's stick at there, and I hope that that'll be okay. Anyway, here we have the Natasha Denona Crystal Top Coat and the two ColourPop Super Shocks. All three of them are kind of sheer. And I have to say, in the interest of not stressing myself out too much, I don't feel like I'm really ready to decide to declutter any of the three of these. I feel like they have been languishing a little bit in my collection, but they've been languishing in the way that makes me want to kind of get back into using them and decide about them. Like I should shop my stash for them rather than declutter them. I don't feel like I really am sure about any of the three of these. So I'm going to go ahead and hang on to them. So these are three little shadows that I shopped my stash for as a way of duping the vibes of the Smoke Show palette. And this one is depotted from a Juvia's Place palette. It's a really, really rich, sort of smoky, oh gosh, almost like a darkly shiny blackish brown or blackish gray. I really love that eyeshadow. I'm definitely going to be keeping that. There's something really satisfying about that. And I do love most of the Juvia's Place shadows that I've tried. This is Fairy Acid by JD Glow, which initially disappointed me because it's so much less intensely glimmery than the other Galaxy shadows. It's almost like it's a different formula. But I've found that I have gotten really good use out of it because it has other purposes. And then this is a Sephora collection shadow that Tara sent me a while ago. It's number 56. I think that this is actually discontinued, but it's the most gleamy metallic kind of, I don't know, gunmetal of the three of them. I really like all three of these, and I've actually enjoyed having them. That's the Sephora collection one. Look how beautiful that is. I've actually really enjoyed having them on my vanity in this little compact because I found myself reaching for them a lot and doing kind of these intense smoky looks. Adding Fairy Acid makes a look more green. It ends up looking kind of like a mossy, glitzy look. And if I don't bring in Fairy Acid, which is really hard to do, it's always really tempting to bring it in, but if I don't, then I can keep it to kind of like a gunmetal smoky black look. So these are three very me shadows, and I have a personal relationship with all three of them, which I think is kind of key for this declutter. Those are the kinds of things I want to keep, so I'm going to be keeping those three. This is the little palette that I made when I duped the vibes of Tati's palette before it had fully been revealed. So I didn't know exactly how hers was going to look, and I kind of made my own palette in the image of what she was sneak peeking. And I've actually really enjoyed using this. I love the idea of a palette that has similar color rows with different finishes all down the line. And it's just been lovely to have. It's probably time for it to be dismantled because in decluttering and in rearranging my single shadows, I think I'll probably repurpose this palette, and I feel like I've gotten the good use out of it that I wanted to get out of it. So I'm actually going to go ahead and take all of these out of this palette and put them here on the table. And just to explain myself, I did that because I wanted to divorce the identity of each individual shadow from the role that it played in my Tati palette. I didn't want to be kind of keeping it because, oh, it worked so well when I experimented with duping the vibes of that palette. I really want to be assessing each shadow on its own individual merits. So I wanted to kind of like mix it up and separate them from each other. So this is a shadow that I must have depotted because it's got a magnet stuck to the back of it. And it's a beautiful burgundy red. It feels a little dry. I suspect that it's a Morphe shadow. And because I have a number of depotted Morphe shadows. Some of them are from the Jaclyn Hill palette and some of them are from the 35O palette. And I just feel like I probably have other shadows with this color, and this one is probably the lowest quality of all of them. There's nothing about this that makes me want to keep it right now, especially just because I know that this color isn't super unique to my collection. So I'm going to go ahead and let go of that one. This is Butterscotch by Luxie. This was sent to me in a care package from a subscriber. It also feels a little bit dry, but I absolutely love this color. And actually, one of you commented in my video about the Tati palette asking what this was. It's Luxie Butterscotch. And I do really love this little shadow. It's almost got like a greenish tinge to it. And even though it feels a little dry, it's still performing beautifully. So I'm gonna go ahead and hang on to that one. It definitely brings me joy. This is Boombaya. It is a pressed glitter from ColourPop. And this was a gift from Angelica when she was here. Even though the orange glitter, if I had purchased, let me put it this way, if I had been purchasing all of my own glitters from ColourPop, I wouldn't have included this one because I tend to like more neutral things, especially when it comes to glitter. But I love how it lights up a look. And I've grown really attached to it. It's got some blue in it. It's just a really, really special glitter. And it's extra special because Angie gave it to me. So I'm definitely going to be keeping that one. Here are the other ColourPop glitters. I just love these things. Like I'm not going to part with any of them, but I'll just quickly go over them with you and tell you what they are so that you can know if you're kind of watching this to get a sense of which shadows look in which way. God, I lost control of that sentence. All right, this is Indio. It's kind of like the purplish one. And this one right here is Renegade. And this one right here is Island Hopping. That's like the super icy white one. And this is Get Lost. Renegade, Indio, Island Hopping, Get Lost. So I love these. Part of the reason I love them is that I bought them myself. I find that I tend to be more attached to things that I selected myself and that I spent my own money on, which is, I don't know, it's just something I've taken away from this year of both budgeting and receiving gifts in PR. So I'm going to hang on to these four glitters. They definitely spark a lot of joy. This is Colored Rain Golden Olive, and this was also in a gift package from a subscriber. I love this shadow. I love the name. I love the way that it looks in the pan. Very attached to this, and I'm definitely going to hang on to that one. This, I'm sure, is a depotted Morphe shadow, and it's got that intense, oily, creamy surface feeling that makes me think that it was depotted from the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. It's a very pale pink. It could also have been from the 35O. It's just nothing special to me. I'm gonna let it go. This is Hear Me Out. It's a cream shade from ColourPop. It's really beautifully pigmented. I really, really love ColourPop mattes. They're like my favorite matte shadows, basically. And I do find this really useful when I'm building travel palettes, so I'm gonna keep that one. This is interesting. I believe that this is also a depotted Morphe shadow, and gosh, it's a really beautiful sort of sheer watery red. It's like a sheer watery red. I'm gonna keep this one for now and then maybe check in at the end and kind of do a little run through, which I'll probably do, and see if there's anything else that's quite a lot like it. For the time being, I'm pretty attracted to that. I really like that little guy. I don't use it very often. I'd like to use it more often. It's not like lighting up my life, but I don't feel like it would give me satisfaction to declutter it. So I'm going to hang on to that one for a little while, but it might go towards the end. Here we have Now and Zen by ColourPop. I really love the effect that this one can give to a look because it's got a really strong gold shift, even though it looks white. And sometimes it can even make part of a look a little bit green and give it some color dimension that's very beautiful. This is my one black single shadow. It's ColourPop Let's Do It. This is another one that I find very useful in building travel palettes. Definitely going to hang on to that guy. This looks like, again, it's a depotted Morphe shadow. And oh, that is very beautiful. I'm going to, again, hang on to this for now. I'm going to put my maybes to the side over here. I'm going to put the maybes down here. This is the maybe corner. This is an ABH single called Wine that was in a gift package from a subscriber. Gosh, it's performing like a little bit thin on my hand and doesn't really make me want to dig into it. And I know that I have a lot of single shadows this color, so I'm gonna give that one away. This is from the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. I think this might be the color called, it's like called Mink or Meeks or something like that. I actually really, really like this eyeshadow. It was always one of my favorites in that palette, and it is one of my favorites as a single as well. This is funny. This is labeled as being Luxie Obsession, but when this arrived in the mail, it was in a palette along with a number of other singles, and some of them had exploded in the pan. So I went through and I reconstructed and repressed a bunch of them, and I think that Obsessed by Luxie ended up with a bunch of like little bits of other shadows mixed in with it. So I'm aware that it's not unadulterated, but the shadow that I ended up with and the way that it performs, and probably the shadow underneath all of what's pressed on top of it, is really stunning, and it's right up my alley. I'm very, very fond of this, and having it in my little dupe palette that I've been using made me even fonder of it. So I'm going to go ahead and hang on to that one. This is Luxie Spellbound. This is a really strange and beautiful, again, slightly a thin duochrome. I really like the way that this looks in the pan. I feel fond of it. I'm keeping a lot of these, but a lot of them kind of made it into my Tati dupe palette because I was familiar with them, so I'm predisposed to want to keep these ones. It's not going to be like this the whole time, don't worry. This is ColourPop Snake Eyes. It's a really pretty, kind of very shifty, metallic, bright mauve. This might edge out some other mauves that are similar to it, so I'm going to keep it, but it might edge out some other ones. This is Martian. This is a ColourPop shadow that's pretty new to me. It's a matte with a little bit of glitter, and I really, 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 really love this eyeshadow. I love the look that I did with it. It's actually in the video. My boyfriend edits my video. Martian formed the base of that look, and I really, really love that eyeshadow. This is like a basic brown that feels and looks like it's also a depotted Morphe shadow. I think I can let this one go. Yeah, I don't need to keep that. Ooh, look at this beauty. This is Tinker Time. This is another one that I recently purchased when I built my own ColourPop palette, and it's like a kind of stiff golden formula with a bit of micro glitter in it. I love the formula and I love the color. And then this is Baby Lights, which was a gift, and it is one of my most used ColourPop shadows recently. It's just a really beautiful, it's very similar to Tea Garden, but I think maybe a little bit greener. I don't want to let go of Baby Lights. It's definitely one that I know it by name, if that makes sense. I'm going to wash my hands, and then I'm going to kind of like reorganize a little bit. So after I got back from washing my hands, I was just looking at the little screen on the camera, and it still looked kind of blown out at this distance. So I actually changed the exposure a tiny bit. So hopefully it's not as overexposed. I'll see you when the footage comes out. I hope that this video is still worth watching in terms of like the quality of the footage and, you know, the process of the declutter. But I would really like you guys to be able to see the shadows well as well. So we'll have to see how that turns out. So I'm going to move these little keeps off to the side, and obviously we'll revisit them at the end. I don't want to part with any of these singles from Adept right now, or maybe ever, because I am so satisfied by the way that they fill this pan. And even though Sandra from Adept offered to send these to me, I also picked them. Like, I told her which colors I would be the most likely to use because I didn't want, you know, to be overwhelmed with shadows that I would then declutter because I wouldn't care for them. And I have been loving using these. One of the other videos that I'm going to film very shortly here is a video going through and swatching all of these. And actually, I think I'll probably go ahead and just put these guys back where they belong because I know that that video is coming up, and then you can see the complete palette. This whole thing sparked joy. This is one of my favorite possessions in my makeup collection right now, and I would hate to break up the party by decluttering any of them. And to be honest, there isn't one of them that I am not currently enjoying using or that I don't think that I'll get a lot of use out of in the future. So these are all going to stay. Okay, this little palette is kind of a mess right now. I have been using it as like a holding place for shadows when I've been moving things around and making smaller palettes, and I don't really know what's going on with these. I'm gonna put the maybes over here. So let's just go through one by one. This one kind of leaps out at me. This is Misty by ColourPop, and this is one that I purchased myself when I built my own palette recently. So I do really love the quality of this. It was also highly recommended to me by one of you, and so I'm gonna go ahead and keep Misty, even though it's not unique. Like here it is next to Nomad, which is the Juvia's Place shadow that I really, really love. That's one of my top 10. Misty's almost like sort of like a slightly less ambitious younger sister, but I still want to keep it. I still really love it. I like including it in palettes. I'm fond of it and it sparks joy. Makeup Geek Taupe Notch, Makeup Geek Barcelona Beach, and Makeup Geek Brownie Points. And a subscriber sent these to me after I talked in a video about how I had never tried Makeup Geek and I had kind of always wanted to, and I was always thinking about placing an order for some of the, yeah, like these sort of mid-toned, cool mattes, like transition shades. And I really appreciate getting this chance to see them in person, but these don't perform very well. And I know that my subscriber who sent them had decluttered them from her collection. And I have a feeling that they just aren't at their prime. Like, I don't think that they're performing in the way that they did when they were new. And I never reach for them because I feel like they're a little bit dusty. It has been really fun to kind of like get to know these colors, but you can see that they aren't what they used to be, I believe. And Lauren was recently talking in one of her videos about how Makeup Geek shadows tend to go off more quickly than other single shadows. I believe that that's what's happened here. So I'm gonna go ahead and let those guys go. This is Nabla Tribeca. This was also a gift. Wow, that is so pretty. I haven't really spent a lot of time with a few Nabla shadows that were sent to me. So I think for now I'm going to hang on to that one and try to get some use out of it. I really love this shadow. This is also something that Tara sent. It's also from the Sephora collection, and it's almost like it does what those Makeup Geek ones promised to do, but just performing better, and it has a little bit of a satin quality to it. So to me, that makes it easier to work with than a matte, and I am very, very fond of that little guy. Here are 3 ColourPop duochromes. This is, what's this? Mr. Sandman, Glass Bowl, and Tea Garden. I'm going to keep all 3 of those. I just watched them in my recent video about the single shadows that are the top 10 that I would keep, so I'm not going to swatch them now. We all know them so well by this point anyway. This is Nabla Alchemy. And this is actually a really interesting case because I know that this is like an iconic Nabla shadow, like everybody talks about this. And I just feel like it either looks exactly the same as or isn't as exciting as so many other similar shadows that I have in my collection. Like right up here in my favorites, I've got Grisaille from Cleona. And Grisaille is just like alchemy on steroids. Like, look at that. And this is beautiful enough though that I would really like to be able to give it away to a friend. And I just feel like it's languishing in my collection because this is the exact type of eyeshadow that I love. And I have so many that are like this, but that are like the best of the best to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and give that one away, which is totally wild, but I'm doing it. This is Juvia's Place Nia. This was also a gift and I'm definitely keeping it. It's just like an incredibly rich, beautiful chocolate brown, and I live for that. I really, really like that shadow. These are more Makeup Geek shadows. This one is Twilight. This one is Toxic. And I feel like Twilight, the same fate has befallen it as the other ones that I decluttered. I think that Toxic is really special. It's like a weird, grungy undertoned, gray, purple shifting one. So I'm going to keep Toxic, but I'm going to pass on Twilight. This is ColourPop Sleeper, and I actually purchased this when I built my own palette, but it ended up being a lot more purple than I expected, and I never use it, so I'm going to give that one away too. This, on the other hand, this is a really little ColourPop shadow that was in a palette that I purchased right before the beginning of my no-buy year, and then I depotted all these little guys and put them into my single shadow collection, and I actually really love them. I can't remember quite which palette it was, but it was like my introduction to having mauves, like mauves I don't know, mauve neutrals. And it was like a revelation to me. These two are really similar, like almost indistinguishable, but I just, they do spark joy. Having them both sparks joy. One's a tiny bit darker, one's a tiny bit warmer. And I just love those little guys. They have such good memories, and I do reach for them a lot, and I put them in I put them in pans of single shadows a lot. So I'm gonna hang on to those guys. This has quite a dip in it. This must be a depotted Morphe shadow. Wow, look at that. No wonder it has a dip in it, but let's look at it next to this guy. They are different. One's warmer. I'm gonna keep this one. It's super creamy. It's crazy. This is Nabla Unrestricted, and oh, it looks different than I expected. It's got a purple undertone. Oh, it's sort of some duochrominess. Wow, that's buffing out really pretty and very unusual, but it's a little dry, and I just have a feeling that I'm never going to reach for this. I'm not going to remember that it's a little bit purple. I'm not going to really make use of it. I think I don't love that. I'm going to give it away. This is a very old eyeshadow. This is from Makeup Forever. I purchased this myself way at the beginning of my YouTube days. And it was it was like my first eggplant purple eyeshadow. I loved the idea of eggplant purple, and it's just become, gosh, it's hard to say. I feel like I might still be able to get some good use out of that. It doesn't swatch super well, but you can tell that it's got the pigment that it needs to make a beautiful eye look. I'm gonna put this in the maybes. This is Nabla Daphne. This was given to me. Ooh, I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that and try to get to know it better. That's really pretty. This is Nabla Artemisia. Wow, that feels really, really creamy. And this is Nabla Cinnamon. These both feel super, super creamy and good, and they are beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna keep those. So I haven't really gotten to know these Nabla shadows that someone sent to me. I was really, really, really grateful to receive them again, but like they've just gotten lost in my collection. That's part of why I'm decluttering. Another iconic shadow, Makeup Geek Creme Brulee, but that I can feel like is not performing like it used to. It just feels so much less creamy than these two, for example. This is Pinky Promise from ColourPop. This was in my Build Your Own palette, and I really, really like it. I want to keep it. This is Bohemian by Luxie, but there's just a little bit of it left because it shattered in the mail, and I was only able to press like a tiny bit of it back in there. But look how pretty it is. I've been so impressed by the Luxie shadows that I've gotten to try. Look at that shine. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna keep it. This reminds me of a really, really, really shiny version of the little single shadow Romantic Floor from the Shine Fix Eyes that I've been loving, and I have kind of been wishing that I had like a pressed version of this rather than having it in its own whole pot. So I'm gonna hang on to this. If I find anything that's more intact, that's really similar, I might let it go at the end. Let's put it in the maybes. This is Doll Face by Luxie. It also lost some of its marbles when it was in the mail, but there's about half of a pan left. It's really pretty, but I don't feel like I ever reach for it, and I also don't feel like it's unique enough to what I have. I'm gonna give that one away. Makeup Geek Luna. This one is also just like a half pan, and this is so similar to Snake Eyes from ColourPop, so I'm gonna give this one away. It's a little pinker than Snake Eyes, but it's just close enough for me that I don't need them both, and I never reached for that one. This is ABH Cognac. That's just like, it has that dustiness that I dislike in the ABH formula. And then this one is depotted from a Juvia's Place palette, and it's like the most perfect huge pan of amazing creamy copper. So I'm gonna hang on to that one. I really love that shadow. Let's clear a little space. I'm gonna scoot these keeps to the side, and we'll look at what was in the other half of this palette. So right away there are these no-brainers. This is 365 by JD Glow, and this is Unexpected, or no, that's Good God by JD Glow. Those are two of my favorite shadows. I really love the JD Glow Galaxy formula, so those aren't going anywhere. They almost made it into my top 10. And this one as well. This is Defiance by Sidney Grace. This was also a runner-up for my top 10. It's just like the richest, most dreamy, rich forest green. This is a shadow I really love. I think I was calling it Midnight Cowgirl in my other video, but I think that this is actually called Midnight Rodeo. And it's a very bright mauve with glitters in it. I bought it as a single and I've had it for a really long time and I just love it. I have a personal relationship with it, so I'm gonna keep that one. It's an Urban Decay shadow. I don't know if I said that, but that's what it is. Look at this beauty. So this is Pixie Dust by Makeup Geek. And I love the way it looks in the pan. It's so unusual. I don't have anything like it. I'm not sure how well that's really performing, but it's performing well enough to keep, given that it's so special and different in color. So I'm going to hang on to that one. This is just incredible. This is Omega by Luxie. And oh my gosh, it just looks like the deep, dark ocean. This is ColourPop Dragonfly, and this is one that I said in my other video has been edged out of my affections by the Adept Cosmetics single in ACS 17, but I don't think it's going to be edged out of my collection. It's just not my top of my top, but it is an iconic shadow for me, an iconic single shadow, and I don't think that it has been so thoroughly replaced that I need to like completely declutter it. I'm just not going to be taking it with me everywhere I go the way that I used to. And this is Paper Tiger. That's an absolute no-brainer. This is another iconic ColourPop shadow, a matte. And here next to it is a depotted Morphe shadow. I think that this is from the 35O. Yeah, I'm gonna hang on to this weird little Morphe shadow. Again, it's one that I like remember. Like if you were like, tell me about all of your mustardy shades, I would, without even looking, I would be like, well, I've got ColourPop Paper Tiger, I've got this weird depotted Morphe shadow, and I've got Luxie Butterscotch. I would like remember them all. So I think that I think I'm gonna keep it for now. I'm gonna see how I do with it in the coming months. This is another depotted Morphe shadow. I think this is that dark purple from the Jaclyn Hill palette, and it's just kind of like dusty. Like look at that. It's just like separated and dusty. Not good. I'm not going to keep that. This is Nabla Radical, another Nabla shadow that was sent to me as a gift that I haven't really gotten to test out very much. Very, very beautiful army green. I'm going to hang on to that. And then this must be, oh, this is Moss from Luxie. It looks like it's just got a little more blue in it. Yeah, I'll keep that for now. Actually, no. I don't love how it's swatching. I don't reach for this color enough to want to keep it. I've been really loving the Luxie metallics that I have, but I don't really feel like super compelled to hang on to a matte if I don't love it for its own sake. Okay, here is another slew of Makeup Geek shadows, all in that same kind of pale gray category. And I've just been so overwhelmed by having so much of them. A sweet subscriber sent me a whole bunch of Makeup Geek shadows that she had decluttered, and so many of them were exactly what I had said I wanted to try and almost exactly the same as each other. So it's been hard to kind of sort them out from each other. And again, like the ones that I decluttered, some of them aren't performing very well. So that's Hipster. This is Friend Zone. This is Moon Dust. This is Prom Night. And this is Rebel. So yeah, once again, the three mattes. And I've never had Makeup Geek singles. So I don't know if they just don't swatch well. Either way, I just don't want to use them. They're not making me want to use them. So those are going to go the way of the dinosaur. And then these two, this one's very interesting. Rebel, it's like a very pale bluish purple with some gold in it. It just looks stunning on the arm. Like it's very unusual and strange. I just know that I'm not going to use it. It's like, it's not got enough creaminess and sort of stuff for me to dig into. Even though objectively it's beautiful, it's not something I want to use enough to keep. And then this one right here, Prom Night, same thing. It's like a really beautiful lavender with some shimmer in it, but it feels very hard in the pan, and I can just tell that I'm going to default to using other things instead of this. So that one can go too. This is one that I depotted again from a Juvia's Place palette, and I absolutely love this shadow. It's like a sheeny green to gold duochrome. That's a definite keep. This is the kind of thing that makes me want to declutter my single shadows so that it gets more attention. This, I think, is from the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette, It's another one that I'm super fond of, just a straight up creamy copper. I love that like oily, sheeny, creamy formula that was in that palette. And this, what is this? This might also have been from that palette. Ooh, that's very pretty. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that too. This is Queen of Mean, one of my favorite Luxie shadows. It's like it's got like a really grungy undertone and it's just so stunning. I'm gonna keep that. This is Makeup Geek Vintage. And this is also from the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. It's that dark green. I'm not going to keep that. Makeup Geek Vintage looks like it's swatching and it feels like it's in better shape than the other Makeup Geek shadows were. So I'm going to get rid of this Jaclyn Hill one. I'm going to keep Makeup Geek Vintage for now. Okay, this is the last stretch. This is the last location of singles of all of the ones that we've gone through. Move the maybes up here. Let's just start. These big bright pans are popping out at me. I know that they are all depotted from Juvia's Place palettes. And this one, what is this? Oh, this is a Makeup Forever shadow that Sarah sent me from Australia. This is from Juvia's Place, and that's from JD Glow. This one's from Juvia's Place too, and so is that one. So I'm gonna separate out the ones that aren't. I'm definitely gonna keep that blue one, and I'm definitely keep this duochrome coral one. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and keep these mattes too. Yeah, look at that. Oh man. Oh, they're so pretty. Yeah, I barely got a swatch of that coral, but I am very fond of these. I'm very fond. I love that Angie sent them to me. I enjoyed the process of depotting them. No, this is the Makeup Forever one. I didn't actually swatch that. That's the Makeup Forever one, and this is the one that's depotted from a Juvia's Place palette. I'm gonna put this Makeup Forever shadow in my maybes. Yeah, it's so old again. It's so old, and I don't feel like I need to keep it. Although it's a much sort of rustier red than the Juvia's Place one, which is a little bit more of like a bright, almost like a pink. Like this is like a red and that one's like a pink. But I'm going to put it in my maybes. I'm going to see if I end up with anything else similar to like this, like a cranberry. Like this is kind of similar. This is, I think from the, no, that's like a darker brown. I'm going to keep all of these Juvia's Place ones. I think of them fondly. I like that I have them. This one from JD Glow is a definite keeper. I'll go ahead and give you a swatch of that. Hold on. This is JD Glow Opal. It's one that I bought with some of my budget. This is just a cream colored shadow from Makeup Forever. And I don't feel like I need to keep that, what with having a cream colored ColourPop shadow. I'm going to give that one away. Oh, this is another depotted Juvia's Place one. Sorry I missed it before, but I really love that bright icy white. And then this is another Makeup Forever shadow that's just like a yellow. I don't need to keep that either. This is Colored Rain Side of Olives. That's kind of a no-brainer. I definitely want to keep that. And this was a Natasha Denona shadow, single shadow. I mean, it still is. That was gifted to me. And yeah, I love both of those guys. I'm going to keep both of those. This is ColourPop Bel Air. It's kind of just like a go-to, you know, grayish brown transition shade from ColourPop. I'm going to hang on to that one. I do think about bringing that with me a lot when I'm traveling. And then this is like my dream, just like, I don't know, dark brown. This is like my favorite little dark brown shadow. Again, it's like a depotted one from ColourPop, and I really like this one too. It's the same, but maybe just with a tiny bit richer. It's like the two mauve ones that I kept. I'm just gonna keep both of those because I just love both of those little guys. They're a little bit different in undertone, and I know them. I take them with me when I go places. I love them. I think about them. I think Makeup Geek Steampunk right here. Holy bananas. Keeping. But this is Makeup Geek Bada Bing, which is a lot dustier. So I'm going to go ahead and let go of that one. This is, I'm sure, a depotted Morphe shadow. That's a dark brown. That's dusty. And then this right here is from the Alamar palette. I depotted it. And that is a pretty well-performing brown, dark brown. I'm going to put that with the maybes because I don't know if I really need to keep that, but I know it's a pretty well-performing dark brown. Let's look at these other Alamar shadows. I remember really liking the quality of these when I received that palette as a gift and depotted it. This one is like, when I think about that palette, this is the one I think of, this like icy foiled green. So I'm definitely gonna hang on to that guy. And I remember really liking the orange too, but I just feel like, I remember liking the mattes, but I don't know. I never think of them. I never reach for them. I'm gonna give those mattes away. I feel like I have other mattes that serve like Martian uh, from ColourPop, the one I recently bought. It will give me the same orange as that one. And then this blue is really, really beautiful, but I'm so in love with the blues in the Adept singles collection that I have that I think I can give that one away too. Don't need to keep this one. It's just like a regular old shimmery peach. And I didn't like the way this one swatched either when I swatched it on my other arm. So I'm only going to keep this icy greeny gold from the Alamar palette that I depotted. All right, let's look at some of these like blues and purples that were, I think, in the Jaclyn Hill palette. This is Drama Queen by Makeup Geek. I don't need to keep that. That's just, there's nothing about it. And then these are definitely from those ones from the Jaclyn Hill palette. The blue and the purple. The purple is not calling to me. It's like nothing special. This really, really bright bluish purple kind of royal blue color, I don't really have anything else like that. I'm gonna go ahead and hang on to that one. This must also be from the Jaclyn Hill palette. It's a matte. I just don't know if I'll ever like use that. It's so pretty and it does add dimension to my palettes, but I don't use bright mattes like that. And if I wanted a matte like that, I could reach into like my electric palette or something. This is going to go in the maybes. These though, oh, this might also be from the Alamar palette and I might have missed it. I don't know. I just feel like the kind of gritty, grimy, darker turquoises that I kept from those indie brands are so much more compelling to me than these. I think I'm gonna just pass those along. I mean, like if I wanted something like that, I could use that one from Juvia's, and I really, really love that one. And those two, I just don't love them. So this is Meteorite from ColourPop that I bought myself, and I got an abysmal swatch of that just now. But I know I really like that guy, so I'm gonna keep it. This is a depotted Morphe shadow, and this is Luxie Maple, which feels much, much smoother. And they don't look exactly the same. And this is a color that I really like having. I think I'm going to keep both of those. Here's ColourPop Team Captain. That's a no-brainer. I really love that shadow. Bought it myself before my no-buy year. And this is High Tea by Makeup Geek, which it's just not performing. It's just not swatching. I never reach for it because I know that it doesn't really work very well. These, I believe, were also Natasha Denona shadows that were sent to me as little singles, and then I depotted them from their little single pans. Wow, that one's beautiful. It's like a really icy dove gray, and that one's a more toned down. Yeah, I'm gonna keep those. Wow, I would love to do an eye look with just the two of those. Don't want to forget about them. What's this? This looks very pretty. Ooh, yeah, this is Genesis from Luxie, and it is unbelievable icy bluish gray. Keeping it. This is Mesmerized by Makeup Geek. Wow, that's swatching pretty well too, but I wonder how similar it is to my Adept shadow that I really love. So the Adept shadow is a little bit more brown, which means that Mesmerized is probably an exact dupe for ColourPop Dragonfly. Dragonfly is a little darker and Mesmerized is a little bit lighter. That's a really pretty shadow and it's really pretty in the pan, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that one. All right, these are all the ones that are left. All of these, like, I don't know, like peachy oranges that I've just not wanted to like I haven't been as interested in digging into these and decluttering them. I'm actually going to swatch on the back of this arm. I think that that'll be good enough. This one has a huge dip in it, and it looks like it was probably from the Jaclyn Hill palette. I've obviously gotten a lot of use out of that, and I really do like the color, so I'm going to keep that one. This is Carrot Cake from ColourPop. It's like a really, really pretty bright gold. This is Sidney Grace Loose Change. This is Millie from ColourPop that I purchased myself. They look pretty similar. There's Millie. And there's, oh no, Loose Change is much redder. I really love both of those. I love those kind of ruddy red ones. I said I wasn't that interested in these, and then I'm like keeping all of them. So these little guys, again, I've had these around for a really long time, and they were from a ColourPop palette that I depotted. I have always really liked this kind of NARS Orgasm-y type one, really pretty sheeny, pinky, kind of pinky gold. And I feel like this, which is from the Jaclyn Hill palette and has a similar undertone, I feel like I don't really need to keep that because it's so similar to that little guy, and I really love that little guy. I don't know, I feel like I've kept so many sort of basic pinky mauves. I can go ahead and part with that one. I feel like for these little ones, for some reason, it's the mattes that have always really appealed to me. Maybe not so much the shimmers, because I have so many shimmers that I love. So there's this bright gold, this warmer gold, and this sort of whitish one. Yeah, none of those are of distinction enough, and someone else will really like them. I'm going to pass those along. These are just some basic, like, transition-y mattes. It's hard to say about these. I feel like they could potentially be really useful in a travel palette where I want to have some matte shadows. I use mattes for transitions so infrequently these days. I think that this lighter one that's got like a real orange sherbet shift, I don't think that I'm gonna want that. But I kind of like these other two. I kind of like those two. I'm gonna hang on to those guys. Although I'm not. They're like utilitarian, and I have other things that will work that I'm more attached to. So I'm not gonna hang on to those. This is, wow, this feels nice and creamy. It's definitely depotted from a Morphe palette, and it's that nice mustard. Where's that other one that I like wasn't sure I wanted to keep? I think one of these is from a 35-0 and one is from the Jaclyn Hill palette. One's more brown. I think this might be Pukey from the Jaclyn Hill palette right here, and this is from the 35-0. But I'm going to keep them. I don't mind having like a very minor variety in this color family because I really love that color family. Ooh, this is really smooth. I think this is from the Jaclyn Hill palette too. It has like a really smooth, like rosewood matte. I'm putting that with the maybes. This is probably a depotted Morphe palette shadow. It's like a bright yellow. I feel nothing about that. This is Wait For It from ColourPop. That's one of the ones that I bought recently, that watermelon-y one. I'm going to keep that. I have no idea what this is. Oh, but it's really, really pretty. It's really like dusty. It's just not of enough distinction. It's really, really pretty, but a lot of stuff is really, really pretty, Hannah. And then this, I think, is also from the Jaclyn Hill palette, and it's like a really amazing kind of perfect creamy lid shade. I'm just not really gonna use it because I have all of these like truly extraordinary eyeshadows that I use in that role. So it's like it's perfect, but it's not extraordinary, and I don't know if I really feel anything about it. I'm gonna put it with the maybes. Okay, that's everything. I'm gonna wash off all of my business, and I'm gonna rally, and we're gonna see the lay of the land. Okay, so here are all the keeps, the initial keeps, apart from the Cleona shadows, which I put them back in here. By the way, I dismantled my little collection of like the top 15 shadows that I would keep. I might put that little palette together again later after I finish this, but I felt like I wanted to like see everything in toto and kind of put everything that lives somewhere semi-permanently back where it lives. So I put the Cleona shadows back into their little pan, so there's those. And of course, the Adept shadows are still here in their big palette, so there's those. But apart from those two square collections, these are all of the keeps. And also, you saw me put the decluttered shadows, some of them into this Z palette, and then some of them into this little travel palette from Adept, which I hadn't showed you before, but this little travel palette, I thought it would be useful to me, but I just haven't been using it. So it's in my giveaway box, and I decided to just house some of these giveaway shadows in it, so I'll give them away together. So these are currently the two bunches of giveaway shadows that I've decluttered. But now I need to work on whittling down the keeps. I also have the maybes right here on the side. Sorry, I'll bring them into frame. Those are the maybes up there in the corner. And I have to say that just looking at this, like it feels like more than I was hoping to keep, especially knowing that I have these other two collections on the side. So I'm not going to keep any of the maybes. I'm just going to say, well, this one. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to wait on the maybes. So I'm going to just go through and put these back into this big palette one by one. I don't think they will all fit, but I'm hoping that most of them will fit. And as I go through, I'm actually going to go through grabbing them in the order that I'm like absolutely sure I want to keep them. And then we're going to kind of see what's left as it dwindles down and see if I can choose not to put away some of them and not to keep them. And then we'll see if I want to put any of the maybes into the collection as well. Okay, so here's where we're at. I have decided to put the ColourPop glitters separate. I'm just gonna pop them into this little pan right here. I know I'm gonna keep them all, and I just feel like why like include them in this situation. I don't necessarily want to keep them with the others, so I'm gonna put them away. And it's interesting. I ended up passing on some of them. Like these ones that just don't excite me as much. I feel like Mesmerized by Makeup Geek and Dragonfly by ColourPop are so similar to that one from Adept that I've been using and using and using that I feel like even though they're a little bit more purple, I just don't know. I'm putting them with the maybes. These little ones are these great ColourPop shadows that I've used for a long time, but I don't know, like I'm not enthusiastic about any of these enough to want to keep them. Carrot Cake is really beautiful. It's like an iconic ColourPop shadow, but you know, next to something like this JD Glow Gold, I just don't need it. None of them, I don't want to like rationalize, I don't want to continue to rationalize not enthusiastically keeping them because it's just a situation where I'm looking at them and they don't make me feel excited. Whereas all of these right here, even though they look like repeats, like there's a huge section where everything's like greeny, goldy, browny, teal. All of it excites me and I like really want to keep all of them and I just don't care if there's some slight dupes in there, even though I'm like getting rid of these because they're close enough to something else that I use a lot of. So it's just, I'm like going on emotions now. I'm down to a bunch of these mid-tone kind of mauve-y mattes that are all pretty similar. I am going to go ahead and keep this Urban Decay shadow, but I don't think I need to hang on to Toxic by Makeup Geek, even though it's interesting. It's really hard work to make it work. And then these are all just so similar. These ones from Nabla and these ones from ColourPop. Yeah, I'm gonna let these little ColourPop guys go and hang on to these ones from Nabla, but not these ones from Nabla. It is a little bit annoying that these last three won't fit in here, but I know that it's not like a realistic approximation of how I would usually store my shadows because I always have a handful of single shadows in a little palette elsewhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put the rest of these guys in here for now, just to like have a place to keep them. And that's it. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and put all of the maybes into a giveaway palette and just stop having angst about it, because this is so much more manageable for me. Like these ones right here are all eyeshadows that I feel strongly about. Whereas like this, even though it's unique to what's here, like this really bright matte, by normal declutter rules, I should keep it because it's unique to what's here. I just don't feel strongly about it. Like maybe one day I'll wish I had a matte teal like this, but I don't know. I haven't yet, and I've had this for years. I just think that I won't miss any of these. I'm going to declutter them and promptly forget that they ever existed. So I'm going to put these in a giveaway palette right now, and then we'll reconnoiter and end the video. Okay, so these are all of the giveaway shadows. I'm not totally sure which magnetic palettes I'm going to give away, but these are just where I'm storing them for now. And there are 70. There are 70 shadows here that I'm giving away. So that's great. I'm going to go ahead and count up the keeps. Okay, so I'm not totally sure I counted perfectly, but I think I counted okay. It's a bit of an imprecise science with them all crammed into here, but I can't be that far off. And I counted to about 73. That's not including the glitters, and that's not including the Cleona shadows, and that's also not including the Adept singles, which both of these collections, because they like fit in so well together and look so beautiful, I kind of think of them as palettes. Like I kind of think of them as their own separate thing. Obviously, if you include all of these in my singles collection, I didn't declutter half of my singles, but if you exclude them, I did declutter half of my singles. I decluttered half of what I would call my random singles, and that's exciting. I was genuinely not expecting for this to be that vicious of a declutter. So I'm really happy with that. And I think that that's it. I think that I'm going to proceed now to rearrange these a little bit. And you know what I'll do? I'm going to just film a separate video where I'm like rearranging and maybe curating some of these into their own palettes and doing some swatching. And I'll post that as a separate video just with music and very little talking, something kind of meditative and fun. And then those of you who are interested will be able to see what the eventual fate was of these shadows like directly after I finish this declutter. So I want to proceed to film that, but for now this is it. I've successfully decluttered my single shadows. I feel like I truly love each and every one of these. Each and every one of them sparks joy. And I feel like my collection of singles is much less diffuse now and much less of a mess, and I'm really excited to dig into playing around with it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself right now so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the